All right, welcome to Harrisville Project Management. We've got introductions here at the table. I'm Jenny Knight, City Administrator.
Yeah, Public Works Director.
Matt Robertson, City Engineer.
Ryan Barker with the Fire Department.
Matt Fox, Buena Vista Water.
Brady Hanson with Buena Vista Water.
Perfect, thank you. So we have a Nolan Karras here.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, please join us up here at the table. We will discuss.
So we're talking about this property that was owned by the Lutheran church, and so they're here, and so we have Kelly get out, she's the chair of that board.
Whoever from your team would like to introduce your project and let us know. We can grab one chairs if you bring more people up to the table.
Well, we're just coming up ourselves, and then
If we have questions, we'll make them answer them. Good morning. I'm Kelly Martin. I'm the church council president for Ascension Lutheran Church. This morning, we would like to talk about a proposal to use the back piece of the property at Ascension. Oh, let me pass those out. Of our property that's currently only used as a prayer garden. We are in conversations with our church congregation about leasing or selling that piece of property to Family Promise of Ogden to use as the facility that normally is currently being hosted in churches throughout Ogden, Layton, Roy, North Ogden. If you're not familiar with Family Promise, they are an association that has been formed since 1984. They provide shelter to homeless families with children. And we have been in Ogden. In May will be 6 years. In Utah, they started in Salt Lake about 26 years or 28 years ago. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it is a wonderful program that keeps families together, and they help families that are in situational homelessness, not chronic homelessness. So that's a huge difference for what we're talking about. And if you look, and I got an email this morning that we've graduated 5 families so far. So families come to us and they stay with us. Church congregations take care of them, feed them, house them. But one of the things that they've found is the trauma of moving from week to week is very hard on the children. And so for about a year now, you've been looking for a building. And the buildings have either been not properly zoned or not appropriate, like it would just take so much money to fix a building to where it would fit their needs. And Ascension has been part of this since the very beginning. And so we looked at that piece of property and said, what a better way to use that than just our community garden and our prayer garden. And that's where we are. Okay.
So I'm president of the board of directors or board of trustees, really, and we've got our executive director here, Raquel, and board members that have joined us. We have a concept drawing, but this is just a concept. I've been using it to raise money, but it isn't ready for your engineer to go through and tell me whether it works or not. What I did was on this, you'll see the little square here. That's the footprint of the building and where we probably try and put it on that property. And I see you've got it called up, so that's very nice. You can see the garden there and the sanctuary on the right, but that's the property we're talking about to get you oriented. And we're just trying to find out what hurdles we have to go through to try and get permission to pursue that.
Okay. So what we're talking about here is a site plan amendment, because you have a current site where the church is located, and you're going to be building another building on that site. So that's a site plan amendment that we'd be doing.
Is it, real quick, is it gonna stay, the parcels, are they gonna stay the same? Or are you gonna have the same owner, or are you gonna have to sell it off to a different owner? I'm wondering if, I guess my question is, are you subdividing the land, or are you gonna have the same owner?
So there,
Right,
so that, yeah. So leading into the next question, the current parcels haven't been combined for your site plan, which our preference is that they are combined, particularly when any building straddles a parcel line. So you can see you own probably these 3 parcels.
That's what we.
Is that correct?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, to Matt's question, if you're going to sell it, it has to be got 3. You either have to re-describe the parcels, so you still keep 3 tax ID numbers, but they look differently, or you have to subdivide them or combine them, and probably several different options there on what that looks like. But if you're going to sell property to a different entity, the parcel has to be described of what you're going to sell. So this map that you drew out here doesn't match the parcels. Does that make sense?
It does, it does.
So
if we leased the property from the church, 30 years, sometime, whatever, then that would be.
then they remain the property owner,
And we're okay.
and they apply for the site plan. We still would prefer that the parcels be combined. Again, we don't like, especially if we're doing an amendment that's, we'd like the parcels to be combined for your project, but we can get into those details.
So there
as
are
we
3
work through.
parcels there that.
It appears there's
There are 3.
3 different parcels. Do you own this one?
No, I think Zeppies owns that,
Okay.
according to the.
So these 3 are the parcels, and this westerly section is what you're talking about, putting the facility on, correct?
Yeah, pretty
Like in
much.
this area? In this
there.
area?
Oh, there,
Yeah, sorry, it's touchscreen.
Yeah.
So as far as our zoning goes, those parcels are already zoned commercial. So anything in our commercial land use is allowed. We have a table here that outlines all of the uses in the CP2 zone. So buildings for worship are permitted, as you are. What we don't have is this type of housing listed in our zone. So typically, if it's not listed, I'm not saying that this is the case, but typically when it's not listed in a zoning ordinance, it's not an allowed use. Where it is a shelter / facility to house, our attorney is looking into what our regulations are on it. I made him aware of this discussion, but we don't have any feedback today on that, but we can get you some future feedback
Okay.
on what that looks like.
I thought our things were C3, but I don't know where that came in my brain.
Yeah, we only have CP2 for our commercial zone. That's our only zone, is the CP2 zone for commercial. We have a manufacturing zone, but our commercial. And I believe all of your parcels, we can check our map. This is our current zoning map. And it looks like all of your parcels are CP2. They're already zoned. So you're not necessarily looking to have to get a rezone or go through a rezone for the commercial. The issue is we need to find out a little more details on what the regulations are for a shelter.
Okay.
And your attorney's looking into that now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We don't have anything listed as in our like conditional use. that
Not
has like
anything.
a shelter.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, this is the section of our code where it would be. And it's not listed there, but I'm not
Is that
saying
just because there isn't anything in Harrisville?
oftentimes.
Right, so that it's never been addressed before because there's no place in Harrisville that has
Yes,
that.
our code is definitely doesn't encompass everything. It's very vague. Sometimes that's intentional because you can't think of every option.
Of course
So
not.
sometimes that's intentional, but it isn't listed. So we don't have a definitive answer for you today on the zoning questions, but I'll be in contact with you as soon as we get an interpretation of what that looks like. But we can talk about some other site issues, things, the actual amendment that you'd be requesting. We kind of talked about that a little bit with the preference of combining your parcels, access. So if it does qualify under our commercial code, you've got, I don't believe that there's
I think we
frontage
have,
requirements.
I think we have plenty of, I mean, parking isn't an issue. We're talking about 4 families and 2 employees that are in the building. That's all that's ever in the building. It's not a,
The real issue on that parcel from a lot of standpoint is all the flood water that tends to get right there and then floods out into the neighbors' yards.
Right here.
Right on that side and
oh, I know that because my husband mows that property with our tractor.
so that's what I'm saying. So we'll have to definitely address that with catching whatever, solid comes off the roof and get that storm drain kind of upgraded in that area.
Okay,
That'll be with, as we
okay.
push further on this.
Well, and that's a good thing too, because there is a lot of water there. I used to think that like somebody had a well or a fountain or something in their backyard that just came next door because, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the sewer run to the side street, does it run to 1100 North?
Yeah.
I'm
So-
assuming the
I
church
don't-
sewer.
I don't know exactly where the lateral comes in, but there is.
But if we were gonna run, we could run down that
Yeah.
open piece to
Sure,
that,
you could bring a new lateral out and tie it to the.
It goes west, right?
Yep. And probably look into, at that point, we wouldn't necessarily call it a storm drain line, but maybe a land drain line that connects into the storm drain system to collect some of that water.
Okay.
I'm curious, and we'd have to look in your engineer
Yeah.
that does the site plan and improvement drawings, we need to look at what the original design. Because
I don't know.
where's their detention building? There's that big
I
one in
think
the
it's
front.
that
There.
little teeny tiny.
Here?
That's
There's
for
not,
that whole parking lot.
just again, out there, there's nothing that is ever been built or anything. I want to think, isn't that back piece, isn't that a retention like behind
There is here.
there, but in the back here, between us and the building right here, that's like a concrete culvert area. I think, again, I've moved a lot of rocks and picked up a lot of trash, but, so I think that just holds some water back there, but most of the water is just right in this little area
Yeah.
here. Everything else dries up.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like I said, maybe there's when you're doing the sewer line, we do a land drain line that's perforated and there might be a
Just
little
wondered where.
spring that
Yeah.
pops up there.
and the basement would be absolutely crazy.
No, we wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, our code doesn't allow for basement.
okay.
Just because of the surface water, or the water. I noticed we drove through there and the homes behind all are either raised way up or there are no basements there.
So I think two main questions for your team would be, first, if you intend to lease it or sell it. That's gonna determine the steps that we take forward or move forward with. And then maybe a little more information on, will it be, when you say 4 families and 2 employees, are the employees there all the time? Is this a rotating shift, so there's somebody there all the time? Is there 24-hour response if there's an emergency on the city's part, there's somebody available?
If the families are in the building, then there's an employee or a volunteer staff member in the building all the time. The building is always, there's always the volunteer supervising. There's never families alone in the building, always.
We ought to make sure though that, Kelly, that we do have our administrative offices envisioned there, as well as the bedrooms.
Sure.
And we do some counseling, some outside people, so there'd be some,
And that would be an approved use under our current code.
okay.
So that's not an issue.
Okay.
As far as the number of families that you house there, or how frequently they're there. So you have up to 4 families.
Up to 4
And
families.
when you say it's a transitional housing, no?
It's
Not a
not,
good word?
it's not the right, the transitional housing is not the right word. Help me, Raquel.
It's an educational program.
Educational?
So, yes, so it's not just your regular shelter. We don't take chronic homeless
Right.
families. We take those families that are recently homeless and they have to have minor children. We know that homelessness can be a generational thing, and what we're trying to do is provide not only the needs that they need at that moment, like food and shelter, but also the education of the social skills. So within 10 to 15 weeks, they graduate and they're able to go back to having a job and a permanent address. So, and the way our program is set up is that we do intensive case management. That's why we do not take more than 4 families. And the very top amount of clients that we will take is if we take 4 families of 5 people. Most of them are families of single parent, and the majority of the clients, and I would say 80%, are children under 18.
Okay. So another thing I'll let you know is I'll contact, there's, I don't know if you've ever been in contact with Melissa Fry?
Yes.
From
Yes,
the Center
we
of
do.
Excellence? Okay, so I'll get a hold of her as well on the city side, and we'll work through and talk about a few things and see. I'm sorry I don't have more answers for you today, but I'll try to get more.
I have one question. Is it easier if Ascension keeps, because again, that final piece has to be left to our congregation about leasing or selling. But what I would want to know is, what is easier going forward? If Ascension still owns the land and family, and we just lease it to Family Promise, is that easier? Or if we sell the land to Family Promise, does that make it easier for Family Promise?
For this, from the city's perspective, it probably doesn't matter.
It doesn't
one
matter.
way or the other,
Okay.
we're going to want changes in the parcels.
Right.
Like I said, we'll want you to combine it if the church ends up owning the whole thing, so that it's one parcel that your site is on, or if you're going to make like I said, you have multiple parcels, so it's hard for me to call it a subdivision, because you could re-describe those parcels and have them look different.
Is there, who does that? Is that
Sure.
Did you have your engineer do surveying
a survey
services?
firm.
A survey firm, okay.
Engineering.
Because what we really need to do is, what you would prefer then is if we'd made the parcel with the church, the parking lot, etc., on a parcel. And
If
then
you're going to sell it, yes.
If we're going to sell it, and if not, would
combine all three.
combine all 3 of
parcels.
those that we have.
That the
Just
church then owns.
1101 is our parcel, right?
Or whatever number it is.
Or whatever number you end up making it. Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does.
So if you're going to sell it, it will have to be parceled off, so that there's an option. I don't think.
Is it not? I mean, if you're gonna break it into now 2 parcels with different owners, would it be a commercial subdivision?
We could call it a commercial subdivision, but they've currently got 3 parcels. So to call it a subdivision is, I'm kind of choking on that term, because they've already got 3 pieces.
Right.
I have a question. When you were doing, when you were showing the schedule of what is permissible in these parcels, I noticed that a nursing home is permissible. And what would be the difference between a nursing home and a program like us, for example?
So a nursing home requires a nurse, a certified nurse on staff and available all the time.
Okay.
Assisted living facilities require the same. You have to have a medical personnel there.
So what it is would it change if we had a medical personnel on call? Is that what? or
Well, we
we're
wouldn't
talking about
want you.
apples to bananas?
The preference from the city would be to have you under what you actually are. We don't want to have, you'd have to modify what you're doing to fit the code. We just need to get a little more information on how to classify it. It's not included in our code.
If you go back up to the list, the word elementary, is that
Element.
this word here, does this not mean not-for-profit?
Thought it. You could be right.
And so, because when I looked up that word, which is what it is,
There's
Um,
two E's after the.
Thank you.
I
see. I
think
can't
that-
even.
that's why I was pretty
Oh,
sure
that's a
that.
book. I chose the wrong one. Let's go back.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Is the right word.
charitable.
Yeah, right.
So it's
So-
like I said, I don't
right.
have it, I don't even want to give you a
Right.
clear answer.
When I
because
looked
I'm that
it
unsure.
up and I looked up what the zoning code said, and I said, oh, no, we're a charitable use. This is not a for-profit.
Yeah.
We don't, we're run strictly through donations and grant money through, so.
Can I give you just a little more background, just so you're aware? We asked Blake Severin, who's part of our board and has been past president, who's on the city council at North Ogden, to come today, just in case you had questions, because we're right now using an old fire station that they've let us use for nothing up there in, right near Lee's Market there off of,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yes,
what I was just
okay.
gonna ask Ryan. How has that gone for North Ogden? How's
We haven't seen a problem.
no
Down
problem?
Blake will say the same thing. We haven't seen any of these.
Blake?
You mostly don't know they're there.
Yeah.
You know.
And I worked at North Ogden for the last, well, I've been here for a year and a half, but 7 years prior to that. So I didn't really see a whole lot of people coming and going. It was very, very quiet,
Yeah.
you know.
The typical arrangement is that the volunteers show up about 5 o'clock, and it's different congregations, Latter-day Saints, Lutherans, Methodists, whatever. The Latter-day Saint Church program won't let us have housing in their buildings. So that's when they host. They host it at the North Ogden site. When Kelly hosts them, they're in her building right
They're
there
in my
on your,
church, right.
in your
Sure.
city.
Right.
But they come at night, and then we have a van that takes them to work, to school, to the
Right.
day center. If we build here, the day center would be here, so people who are not at work and not, so the mothers typically would be at the site. But it's not the kind of thing like the Lantern House where you got people hanging around
Sure.
and so forth. It's, I hate to say this, but it's the top part of the homeless people that are really, we can quickly move them. And we move about 80%.
Yes, I would say more than 80%. We're close to 85 already. So we take the recently homeless, because when you're chronically homeless, then you have made homelessness a way of life. And what we're trying to do is help the recently homeless learn the social skills and understand what got them to being homeless, and in a way recuperate them quickly enough within 10 to 15 weeks that they can go back to society in a stable manner, in a stable way. After we graduate them, we follow them for 2 years to ensure that they maintain stability.
Financial training.
So the
They provide
situational, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is a pretty neat little
Right.
program that's run.
And don't look at the size of the
volunteers.
bedrooms, because we've already scoffed at that one.
Yeah, this is conceptual.
It's
we get it.
totally conceptual, yes.
So
It was
what-
meant to be 4 outside walls.
So what I'd like to do is have your team work on whether you're going to sell, lease,
Okay.
come back with an answer next month or even 2 months, however much time you need.
Okay.
And I'll do the same on my end. I'll meet with our attorney again. I'll reach out to Melissa at the Center of Excellence. I'll get some better answers on what the zoning fit is for Harrisville, or what we need to do there. Or if
Okay.
we do need to make some
And
changes.
Did we come back to this meeting? Is that-
Yes.
Okay.
This is project manager. It's held
Will
the
you let us
second
know in the
Thursday.
meantime what the attorney
Yes,
did?
as soon as I have any information, I'll reach out to the
Great.
information provided on the application.
Perfect. Okay,
I got a question. How are you going to get the other utilities in? Power, gas, water?
you tell
Are you
me.
coming off this church, or
No, we won't come off the church, because it'll
so
be
you'll
a
need
separate.
your own?
Yes, it'll be a separate,
And then like your sewer laterals. I mean, are you going to have like an easement or something coming out, or that's? I mean, we're going to go in there, but in the future, it's going to create issues coming across.
Depending on how much room they got, I mean, I'd like to keep them in that open space.
this
Correct.
space right here, out to the, can most of that go out to 1100 if we,
Well, I'm just with the water, but I mean, yeah, you can come off 1100, but I mean, that's something you're going to have to ask yourself going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to need fire protection of some sort.
Seems a shame to waste a good ditch.
So fire protection meaning,
Your building will be sprinklered.
needs to have sprinklers, of course.
Would-
Of course, that's, both of the buildings there already
Right.
do. I
And they
mean,
do, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So you probably have to have a separate line for that, I would imagine, instead of coming off. You'll have to have. So I mean, you're gonna have to come up with some type of to get all that utility easement. I don't know or you're gonna own both parcels or whatever, you're gonna have to come up with an agreement in the future for that.
Yeah, we figured if we use the parking lot either way, we'll have to have some kind of a
Who's this
joint
what?
agreement
Yeah.
to
Of course.
maintain it and so forth.
Those are just some things that,
We'll pay 1%, the church will pay 99.
Gotcha. I'm good with that.
And
It's all
since
right.
we got Blake here, I don't know whether you want to hear from him about Ogden, North Ogden. Blake, is there anything you want to say?
I would just add, we appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And I think this program in North Ogden, the Family Promise program in North Ogden, has been a real community builder for those individuals who've got involved. You see Facebook posts all the time about the opportunity they have to be able to help these people. The blessing is it's a hand up, not necessarily a handout. And I don't think we have had, and Ryan is on the city council with me in North Ogden, Justin worked with North Ogden. I don't think we've had one complaint from anybody in the city about what this program has done for not only the participants, but for the people that are volunteering to help. So thank you for taking this into consideration.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll move forward with those next steps,
Okay.
and then we'll visit.
Right. So once you figure out, right, the ownership, the zoning, all of that stuff, then you would move on to, I mean, having an engineer get on board and start doing your site plan amendment and your improvement drawings.
I took an engineer out Monday and walked the property just to be able to see where the storm drains went, and he told me where the sewer would have to go and so forth, but we haven't done anything detailed. If we get an agreement, then we're
Yeah.
spending money.
Right. You want to answer those questions first.
Right.
Corey.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
We have openings in our board if any of you want.
No, we're looking for money.
Well, we're a city, so we're not gonna find it.
We don't have this on here. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you so
Nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Well, between the city and the church, we should just have lots of money flowing around.
Your head would be full.
That's kind of emblematic, but
Curious to look up their original site plan.
Yeah, we'll have to do a little digging
Where's all
on
their,
that. I'm sure it's in the
runoff
basement.
going?
I'm sure it's in the basement. We can pull it out.
It's
going right here. Question?
Yeah, it floods out all these people back here.
All right, I believe next on our agenda is Triple Peaks.
we dealt with this one before.
I did that out of order, didn't I? I'm sorry. I did that totally out of order.
What do you mean?
You guys were first on the agenda and I called up the others, sorry.
That's all right. You see the best last,
You got to see a good discussion.
you ready to chair? I'll sit back.
I brought a civil engineer. Figured at this point probably have a lot more questions.
All right, so this is your new proposed site plan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it's changed a bit.
A little bit.
So it's changed enough that we have to go back to preliminary. Okay.
Yeah.
Just as long as you're aware.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
had enough changes. We're kind of resetting the button here.
Yeah. But it's a lot more fun. Yeah, he's going.
So, and just doing a couple of reviews before the meeting. And I know that, and I'll stick to what we've said because I know there's been some debates on our height restrictions on it. In reviewing yesterday, we do have a height restriction maximum of 45 feet in our commercial. I know you had identified, and we had told you 50. So I know you've identified on your new plan that your building will be an average of 50. Is that correct? Tell us a little bit more, Matt. Have you? I don't even know if you've laid eyes on it yet.
No,
'cause-
I haven't seen this updated.
So
So this is
okay, so what we started with, because of course, we started with a little, square hut in the front. and then, it's considerably, keeps growing. But then we went to the sport fields in the back, the turf fields. And then we went to the domes because to have them year round. Well, then I woke up one morning and realized that here in 15 to 20 years, we're gonna have to replace those domes at, the covers are $2 million a piece. I'm like, this isn't making a lot of sense. So I decided to put it under one roof. So this building is 450 by 450, both fields in the building. And there's actually, the building's actually been designed by Nucor, and I sent those to you also.
Yeah, that's more the building permit process. We're going to stay focused on the site plan.
Okay.
So some of the changes. So this looks like an improved road that you're tying into 750 West back here.
Correct. Yeah, we talked with David Skeen, owns that up there. There's about 5 acres that will be purchased from him.
So this expands your site.
Yes.
Because there wasn't that much.
I was going to say, I didn't remember there being
there's-
all of that.
No, you used to just have this and this over here.
Yeah.
So this
Now it
is
goes
there,
all-
and then of course this is.
Let me jump over.
We
to
shifted the fields up north, added the parking below to make a parking requirement.
So the building, average height of 50 feet. So inside how?
So the inside is actually, because what we wanted to be able to do is it'd be the only place in the state of Utah that you can have an indoor football game. So not only would it be for soccer, it would be for football, it would be for adult leagues, soccer, intramural leagues, flag football, all that stuff. But what we're planning on doing is actually, because we had it, the geological, they cored 3 different areas on it here last year at this time, and they went down 30 feet, never hit water.
I try it again.
We are having them do it again because this is a once in a lifetime event. So we are actually having them record again for just that reason. But if we go down, we're going to take the field. The field level is going to be 15 feet below ground level. So we've talked to those guys, and as far as this old report, they don't have any issues with it. But we wanted them to do obviously an updated coring, and they're actually going to they decored 3 areas. This time I think they're coring 6 all the way around where the building's at.
Is there?
So that's how you. I was wondering. How
So yes, so that's how we're getting the clearance.
That low of a
Yeah.
ceiling.
Yeah. 15 feet deep. Huh?
So, but with that aspect, because our boy plays for Morgan High, and they for not just them, it's any the high schools. Everybody goes to down south. I mean, we end up having to drive 10 hours round trip to play Tooele in the semifinals, and then another, down south. So it's just, and it's not just us; it's everybody involved in this, because they go down there because the weather's more secure. Well, here, if we can host this, not only does it add a huge benefit to Harrisville, but the schools don't have to go anywhere. And we can have literally 2 games at a time going.
So Matt, we rezoned this commercial, but this Skeen property, so we're double resetting because if you include any of Dave Skeen's parcel up here, it's still agricultural. So we will start over with a zoning request to rezone this. Does he own all the way to 750?
Yeah, and actually, like I say, with his, it's like it's already, in the future, the master plan, it's already zoned for.
Well, the future land use map might show it as commercial.
Yes, it does. It shows the whole area as commercial.
Right, but your project, when we did our public hearings, were on these lower parcels.
Correct. And then with his, because the reason that he built his the house and the 2 horse barns are off to that corner is because it's actually already set into his deal to have road access to that back area.
What's his plan with this home? Because we can't rezone that parcel and have somebody living there and you expand on it on the back west side as your commercial project.
So, I mean, he's pretty open for.
So
yeah,
we can do a split.
You would subdivide off an acre
Mm-hmm.
remain
Can you not do a conditional use on a commercial?
a conditional
Do you have
use?
residential
Should
and
have
a commercial
residential.
zone?
Well, it's grandfathered in certain circumstances if the zoning came about after the home. But in this circumstance where you are rezoning a piece, then you're gonna change the use of the parcel.
Right.
And
No, I know.
So
we've
we
had
would,
other
I think when I was
cities-
talking to him, he was talking about cutting off and keeping that.
So you would subdivide
Yep.
off a parcel to leave the home here,
Correct.
and then do you have enough?
So, but if you go back to the map, we're getting that he was gonna give us the area that goes back and down to be of an access road, that whole
So how
area.
wide is your proposed?
It's on there.
Well, we'd have to
90
show the
feet.
lot with stuff
This,
for making
this lot,
fair
and
and make sure
you're
it's.
gonna
Have to
keep
have 100-foot
an acre,
frontage.
Right, 100 feet.
100-foot frontage and an acre is the.
Which is easy, because you can see where the 90 feet edge to edge and what's in front of the house is well over that.
Right, so to your question, if you rezoned it all commercial, residential is not permitted, not even conditionally.
Not in a commercial use.
We'd have to subdivide.
So you'd have to
So
subdivide
you'd-
it and keep that.
But that is an option.
Keep that in A1 of the residential.
And that's what I've talked about doing, because he wants to keep the house.
And
What
then
about the-
you'd have to get a variance for this access because you'd be using a residential, 750 West is a residential road, and you'd have to have a variance granted to have a commercial use
Okay.
exit
Access
onto a residential property.
So that'd have to go through a public hearing?
That goes through our appeal authority. He hears our variances.
No public hearing?
No, it's a public meeting, but it's ultimately the appeal authority's
The only
decision.
public hearing you'll have is
There's no.
if there's
So-
a zone on the
The
street.
rezone.
You may want to check the state code on variances as far as what is allowed when they make a determination for a variance to make sure that you qualify before you apply for that.
Another quick question, your height of the facility, can we get a variance for that as well? Go after that, because you can do variances for heights of building.
Typically, that's why I'm referencing the state, let's just look up the state code, because typically it's not, a variance isn't authorized if a man-made issue.
So, I have
Height
looked
would be
into
an
and talked with
advantage.
Scott Mendoza, who's a land attorney. And as far as with the variances, as long as the city's on board for what we're, trying to do, he said obviously that's a lot easier to do, but he can write up the verbiage, because variances, he said you can craft the verbiage to be absolutely specific to your building, to what you're trying to do. And it's something, as long as what we're trying to do is, it's a athletic facility that's not up here.
This is what has to happen.
Right, yeah,
Grant
yeah,
the
we've read
variance.
through all that. But he said, granted, it has to be specific to just that type of property and not like something that everybody can go do.
Right.
So,
But just because it's a sporting facility doesn't grant it a special use, right? Because we're talking about a substantial property right as something that would allow people to have the same benefit as anybody else in the commercial zone. You're asking for special treatment of your commercial zone, in a sense.
but that's what he said. He goes to be able to, have an addendum to a variance. He said when they write them up, he said they've done them, quite a few of them, and you can write the verbiage. He goes, they're a lot easier, or not, they're more into granting a variance if it is specific to your building. And he said, a lot of times, it's usually not man-made, not created. He did say that. But he said that you can do it specific, especially if you're putting in, for us, an athletic facility that there's not one up here to start with. And
But you gotta understand, to us, the athletic facility, yes, it does bring things in, but really, you better push is the tax revenue and the tax base off the sports bar bill.
Exactly, and that's what he did bring that up too.
That's all I'm saying.
But back
That's a
to
little
this.
hint, wink, wink.
So the appeal authority is, we appoint the appeal authority, but he's a totally different representative from the city. So he'll hear your.
Yeah.
We represent that it's not allowed in our use. You represent your side, and he makes a determination.
Exactly.
So our appeal authority is Craig Call. He's a retired ombudsman for the state of Utah. So he will make a determination on whether or not you get a variance for the road. And if you want to apply for a height at the same time, you can do that. And he'll hear both at the same time.
And then he did say it's a lot easier to get through if the city's on board. So who wants it?
And just to address.
That's not a question you ask this staff. It's a question you ask the council members.
Yeah. So he said, he goes, if the city's on board, and like he said, he went to the whole, with the tax revenue, the tax base, because I mean, as far as, our monthly or property taxes billing is going to be 10 grand a month.
So there's a couple other things that we need to be mindful of. When you started your initial project, just so you know, the city has given a lot to this project, right?
You mean that was 1995?
The term grandfathered was stretched to use for the bar itself. And so I just want to remind the group here that when your term of being grandfathered in, and even the nightclub is essentially what you're doing, is not classified as being grandfathered in.
But
So-
it's a man-made term, and it can be stretched.
It has been.
So
She's saying it already
group,
has.
keep that in mind. And the cool thing about it is there's no limit to how far or long you can stretch it. So keep that in mind.
She's saying it's.
Look at her. She's
It is stretched. So I guess what I'm saying with that is that you've asked a lot of the city. We've given a lot.
That is true, and we are we do know that. This is definitely a team effort. But like you said, the money that this is going to bring into this area is absolutely crazy.
Well,
and so tell me this.
We've been
I
promised
heard
that by a lot of other projects.
I didn't say crazy. I just said your better bet would be to focus on the tax base.
On the tax-based revenue.
Well, the tax-based revenue from this actually exceeds it.
yes.
But
So-
tell us how what that looks.
And property tax and income tax. And income tax. So the figures that we run for this.
But we don't benefit off of your rental fees.
No, we're not doing rental fees. So what we're doing, actually, this isn't going to be a rental. We're going to have. Okay, first of all, I want to ask. I heard rumor that Harrisville was wanted to raise taxes to build in a recreational facility.
So we raised taxes last year 166%.
For that reason.
Nope.
No.
To balance the city's budget.
Good, so we can help. So,
But that's what you're referring to.
What we are building currently a new public works facility on city-owned property the city's owned for 20 plus years over on 750 West. We bonded to build that, and we bonded to build a city hall and a police station.
okay, so no
to be
recreational
clear,
facility?
They are, just so this is a great opportunity to let you know what Harrisville residents said to we wanted to do a general obligation bond to build a rec center. It failed at 80+% at the
That's because they're paying
election.
for it. But on this, Kadir, you're.
I'm telling you just what happened. That was
Yep.
in November.
Was that
Over
after the
80%?
166%?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it was.
I was going to say.
And
So you raised it 166%?
yes, to balance the city.
Well, no wonder they said no.
Well,
But my point on this
I'm
is the
saying-
fact is we're bringing this to them at no cost to them, as far as the city does not to maintain it. They get the tax revenue, the tax base
Again,
off it.
Mark, you're selling the wrong people.
But I got to start somewhere.
We don't make this decision.
I am the only one who lives in the city. Everyone else doesn't. So you're really gonna have to.
Okay, could you all step out? I need to talk to her. Just you and me. Come to the table.
Wait, so I am curious though. How
Yeah.
does it work? You said it's not going to be rentals. I mean, how does it generate tax revenue for
Yes.
the city?
So what we're doing as far as, because the income base stays in Harrisville. So what we're going to be doing is we're having our own comp soccer teams, comp soccer league, comp volleyball. We'll have, like, say, the football. We have,
But how does the city
All the-
benefit?
all the
because
dues for
the
all
income
the-
that we come off
is
goes
it-
straight to you guys, doesn't it?
All the, all
We
the
get
dues.
sales tax revenue. If you sell something.
Sales tax and property tax is what you guys get?
Yep.
Okay.
We don't get anything off of your income.
But what it does is the people that it's going to bring in,
To your bar
odds
and
are
grill?
to the restaurant and everything else. But I mean, to the
That's
facility.
city.
There's concessions.
Yep.
But we,
Their tax income come from concessions. So
inside the
that-
building.
Inside this.
Mhm.
So that's not shown on your site.
It's not
No.
shown yet, yeah.
But your league, right? But your leagues aren't necessarily going to bring
No.
anything. to the
No.
city. It's the restaurant and bar and
Yeah.
if you have concessions.
That's
Or
all we
or
would
selling
track
it.
is selling.
And that's a lot of concessions, I'm just gonna
Selling
say. It's a
merchandise.
lot of popcorn, and it better be good popcorn.
Yeah, that's a lot, that's a lot of concessions.
And I think the biggest, well, I don't know. With the neighborhood, I think the biggest issue is going to be the size.
It's gonna be the zoning.
size and the height of the building is going to get
Because
the
every
pushback.
time we've done a public hearing, as you've been present to all of them, we reset that angry
the
mob
last-
that
I think the
comes.
last ones were over my dead body.
And the last one that we just had, our most,
Call that?
There's still,
for 750 West.
Oh, the seventh day. Yeah, we know those. We know that all of them are going to say no, but it's not just based on them. It's based off everybody in the area.
Well, but
Right.
a zoning change is a legislative change.
Right.
So the city council has the right to say no.
Right. But they have the right to say yes.
I love your optimism.
Yes. See, I'm a half full.
You know, yeah. I'm not gonna say
I have no say, so
So, as far as next steps, because it has changed, or resetting the clock, you need to get Dave Skeen's permission. You need to figure out what that looks like up there with the residential remaining and the commercial. And then we need to have a public hearing. That's our first step.
Yep.
You've got to get the zoning change before we can even consider any of the rest of the project, unless you want to remove that north.
No, because we need that. I mean, there's no
So that's
doubt.
our first step.
so we should do the public hearing before we do any property purchase.
Yeah,
Because can we have them sign?
that's up to you. We don't involve ourselves.
So
in
we can. I mean, I can get permission. He's like, well, just write it up. He
You,
goes, I'll sign
you just
it.
have to, to meet our zoning application, you have to have the property owner's
We'd have to
permission to
request
request
it.
a change on there.
So just request, but not actually have it done yet.
You have to have their permission to do it.
Oh yeah, and he will. Yeah, he just said just write up whatever I need to sign. So he's good with that.
So we'll start there. As soon as we complete that step,
For the
we'll talk
rezone.
about this.
Sounds great.
She likes the idea. I can see it. She's all over
She
it.
doesn't live in Harrisville. So.
Yeah, she does live here.
The mayor, I don't. The
Yeah,
mayor.
she does live here.
I lived in Harrisville for 20 years. I just moved out.
Jenny likes the idea. She's just sticking to the. She's a rule. She doesn't break rules.
I am
She's
a rule follower. I've been
I'm pretty
told that
interested
before.
to see if you're. I mean,
I wanna
if you
see
really
the
can go
geotech.
15, right?
I gotta see a
I know,
geotech.
I-
It says-
Oh, we have one already.
Right.
I've sent it to you guys.
I mean, we know
This year.
Oh yeah, you have the first one.
Yeah,
But yeah, this year.
This would be a
But the
great
first
year to
one
go do
didn't-
a geotech study.
didn't address going 15 feet down in the ground.
No, the coring did. But as far as
But
building, it addressed 8 feet.
It wasn't, but it wasn't. But there wasn't
It's a big
anything on
land drain around
plan
that building.
to
That's-
go
yeah.
down in the ground like that.
I don't know.
We just know, we know Harrisville and we know what the groundwater is everywhere.
Well,
Yeah, I would
and you
definitely
land
have a
drain
lot of
and
sump
everything.
pumps.
You land drain around
That's
all
pretty
that.
good.
How does it
Can you
get lifted
purify
up?
some pump water?
That's what I brought him for.
Yeah, they're
But
gonna
if
do
you're
that. aren't they?
recirculating,
Yeah.
Reuse.
Reuse.
How's that gonna get
At
out?
what
We're gonna
cost,
work on
right?
that with the sump pumps and stuff, but we want to see what the geotech says. Now, I thought about the same thing. I'm like 15 feet down, but if you think about it, how many buildings, high rises, go 2 or 3 stories into the ground too?
Not in Harrisville though.
Not-
That's-
No, in other cities, I mean, Chicago,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what their
Chicago's
groundwater
got
level is, but
underground systems there.
I think when you tap the water main, you're gonna have as much water as you want to handle right there.
Right.
Just digging that up.
Just going
Just
5 feet
from
in the ground.
digging in this area for 20 years, I think you're gonna have your hands full tapping the water main.
Oh, really? And it's
Yeah.
only 4 foot deep.
Yeah.
And this, you know, and the sewer, I mean, that brings up a whole nother, there won't be restrooms in this facility, will there?
On the ground level,
Okay.
not below.
Okay.
There's no fluid down below.
I'm like, how-
We're not
Are you
gonna
gonna have a
sub
ground
over there.
level and then it drops down to the field level?
Yep.
I like sports fields, but.
I do too.
Hey.
Like I said,
mezzanine too.
all I
Say
say
that
is,
again?
every
There
time
is a
I see
need
this,
for kids.
I
There's a
think
lot
of
of-
Disneyland. Disneyland goes
His kids
We-
even a step
Harrisville.
further.
They respawn these
Because now I'm
places
seeing
at night.
axe throwing inside
Yeah.
the building and.
So with this, it just
You know.
opens up
Yeah.
so many
Every time he
options.
comes and
And it's
visits
not
me,
just,
I'm
so
like,
what we're gonna plan on
now what are we
doing
doing?
is, because kids can only,
There's
You and
no
me
way.
both.
kids can only
He's like, buy
practice 2
more
hours
land. We
in.
got more area.
So we can have kids from 4 to 6, but then from 6, like right now, like north, the Ogden soccer club up here, just north of that little tiny building up there that has one indoor field, one bigger field and a smaller one. They have 400 teams
Oh, yeah.
with the kids and the adults. The problem with them is they can only play 2 teams an hour.
Oh.
With us, we'll have the two fields actually for the full size, but then we can do 7 on 7. We can have 3 fields across, full size 7 on 7 fields across. We can do, you're talking, we can, what is it, 12 teams an hour for 5 hours. You're talking 60 teams a night.
Oh yeah, I think there's a need just having young kids and these.
You know.
That's,
So for the adults, for everything, it just gets people off the couch.
yeah.
And then, you know, and as far as, like I was touched on the first time, is just with the school districts. If they don't have to go anywhere to have championships, that's awesome. You know, absolutely awesome. And then,
So you're
The-
planning on running these things yourself? You're planning on doing all the content yourself?
yeah, and actually, I've already got the coach. We've done a lot of research on this, and I've actually got a guy that's going to run the comp teams because I want to be that stepping stone from high school to college. And for doing that, obviously you need a high octane coach. And so what I've got, his name's Chandler Hoffman. He's 32. He's 1 year out of the MLS. He finished up with Real Salt Lake, but he's from Alabama. 2008, 2009, he was the Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Alabama. He went to UCLA for 4 years, won a national championship with UCLA, was picked number 13 in the MLS Super Draft by the LA Galaxy, and won in 2015. They won the MLS Cup for that, and then now he played for Real, and then he retired a year ago. He's running the club down south right now, but he's all on board with this.
You've probably looked at other facilities, obviously. What's the height? I mean, what do you need for like a indoor soccer?
The one down in
The building height from the
Bottom floor to the
level,
top,
yeah, the playing field.
top of the rafters.
the one for that Real has is 70 feet to the ridge.
Is that similar? That's probably similar to what you have if you look at the one in Logan. Right.
Yep, that's similar to the other.
See, this is part of the challenge here is this would fit better in our manufacturing zone, and I know I've said this to you
Change the
before.
zone. That's easy.
It's yeah.
Totally change the zone. Anything can be changed. Come on, Mayor. Put the stamp of approval
It
on
would
that.
fit. NHWY's property.
Yeah, right.
Well, the thing is, and I did, because I called you about that. And the thing is, it's like, I know you guys don't do spot zone changes, but if you look at that map, I mean, this thing it's the total corner. We're the only ones in there. So if you go to the
That's
land
a
map.
stretch. That's stretching farther than our original
Oh,
stretch.
come on, work with
Go
me.
across
So-
the street and go across from
This
your
is
building.
all residential. This is all residential.
Well, no, because this whole corner right here, including all that residential, is already the master plan is CP2.
Master plan. That's the kicker.
Yeah.
In the future, it's
So-
not current. What our residents.
So when does the future kick in?
That's you.
Future's tomorrow. That works.
Have you knocked on these neighbors' doors and sold them on your project? Because that's your easiest bet.
Oh,
That's
good.
what some
Okay.
of our other developers do. They go out
And actually, I
they
did
reach
have
out
that
to
plan. I already told
every-
him that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Once we get it approved, I don't want to scare him off yet. Once we get him approved,
Because this right here, this is a much better fit for your project. than where you're located.
And you're gonna have a light.
And they're gonna have a light, a street light. The city's property is building here. There's gonna be a light here at Highway 89. HHI that runs the Brickyard owns that property.
How much?
there. All of that property.
How much land is that?
Between the two parcels? Well, that's not fair, because that's their total parcel.
Other side of the.
This is the same parcel number, unfortunately, so I can't
the
tell you how much this is.
See, it's
What's
just
below.
It just doesn't look big enough, and the
So
shape
it's
of
eight,
it.
it's 8 acre, well, we're talking this whole piece is vacant.
So you had almost 20 acres there.
Yeah, this is already zoned commercial, and this is
But then you have 2 residentials
manufacturing.
on there.
One,
And their kids play soccer.
and their kids play soccer.
So just sell me your land.
That's great.
All I'm saying is that is a much better fit. You don't have residences butting up against it, staring at it out the west. That's all.
Because what I was gonna, so I was seriously, once we get, something solid, is I was gonna go knock on doors.
And you're gonna have 640 residents across, well, homes across.
Oh, is that the golf course?
Yes.
Oh, right on.
About that.
So, yeah, that would be my suggestion before your zoning change. We've had other developers do that. I'm not saying that you're gonna gain any brownie points from that, but at least you've done some door knocking and solicitation on those people. But that's where we'll start. So
Definitely want to go knock on doors.
we do have to have that application 15 days before the planning commission.
When's your next meeting?
Our next planning commission is May 10th. So April 25th is the deadline, because we have to do public notices for that.
April what, 25th? is that?
April 25th is the drop dead deadline for that zoning. And we need to have the residential section identified and removed from that commercial.
So can we just do a
I wonder if we need to
Can we
do that
do it-
before we do the zoning change, because we've got to identify the parcel that we're changing the zone
That's what I
of.
wonder too.
Can we just have an application saying that, what's his name, Steen?
Yep.
Scheme.
Skeen?
Scheme.
Saying that he'll allow the zone change and stuff, and then we can, after that part gets approved, then come in and do the lot split?
I'm wondering if we need to do it reversed, because when we identify for the public hearing and change the zone, it's that parcel. We don't want to rezone the home.
Can we show just an image instead of going through, I'm just
It's
trying
the
to.
parcel. The parcel
Yeah.
number is what
They
changes.
have to have the
Yeah.
parcel.
The parcel number changes.
So we just need to have it marked off and David's permission to
That's
do
gonna
that,
speed
right?
up.
No, you have to actually,
It would have to be changed.
I think you'd have to split on that
You'd
lot.
actually have
So
to
we'll just
split
have
it
to do a
up.
little subdivision plat and just split it, and then just,
and then, this is tricky.
how
I'm
else
gonna
would we
have to
zone
ask
it?
Brody about that too, because subdivision's gonna require frontage on a lot, or on a road. That's not gonna be met from this.
Well.
But if it merges with ours.
Which one? The new
If
lot?
they're gonna do, if we do it reversed and they have to do a subdivision first, it's not gonna meet our subdivision code with no frontage to be approved.
on that access road.
Well,
back to the
what's your,
property.
here, go up here and hit the, one of these toggles here. Oops. No. Oh, yeah.
Here, you
Measure-
take
hit
on.
Measure over there.
Okay, I was gonna say, here's the mouse.
And then just, click from there. And does he own the skinny piece too?
No, that's ours.
Like, go all the way down to this.
It's not measuring. Let's just go to
Wanna
the
draw and share or draw.
parcel. It should tell us what, or, whoops,
You're on the wrong.
yeah.
This is dash page. I'm just wondering if they could have, if they split it and had 100 on
Each lot. So it's 195 feet. You gotta be kidding.
Well, but they
Plus the
have,
30.
There's that, look at the question marks. I've been wondering what that
The
is.
30, they'd have to include that piece.
I know, but
into
couldn't they?
the-
Because they own it. So couldn't they include that in the subdivision? And combine?
Put this in the subdivision
Well,
and give
'cause
it
you
enough
guys-
frontage.
You guys own, so combine this, so this 30 feet would be part of this lot.
That would give
and
you enough
got
frontage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can just.
Good thinking.
What if
See,
we
that's
just
what we
create
need.
The whole,
Creative thinking.
the whole subdivision would include all the lots, sort of like what we're
I think
platting
so.
already.
I think so, yeah.
The plat will include all of them.
I think that would
We'll
be
just
That'll probably be
separate it.
best, because then you can't clean up the multiple parcels with the one subdivision plat, right?
I think
it's
so.
like include, yeah, all the Nicole Nunez properties.
Because you own, those
Yeah,
are your
recorded that
project
then, I guess, huh?
properties.
Yes.
Say again?
You haven't recorded the plat.
And it would
No.
get the Thompson Holding.
Yeah,
Deal
tell us the
cleared up.
history. You identified that little hiccup here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's all
And
done.
it's not an issue.
Nope, that's all done.
That could all clean up with one subdivision plat.
Actually, it's already been done. I don't know.
We have
Why it's not
Yeah.
recorded, it's already been done and turned in. I'll have to ask her about that, but no, it's all done.
Well, I would do one subdivision plat that would break off that A1 lot or whatever that state, and then you come in.
And then you come in with your parcel
Well-
numbers and we rezone it to commercial,
Yeah.
except for that.
But why would
In
just,
one lot stays.
not that they don't have enough property, but why would we need that 100-foot frontage when you already have the 100-foot frontage out here?
Because there isn't frontage on the Dave Skeen property.
No, out on the highway.
No,
You
on the
combine it with
highway.
that,
Yeah, but that's a separate parcel.
but if they're all, if they
Combine.
combine.
Are you gonna combine it into
Oh, yeah.
yours?
It's all
If they
getting
combine
combined.
all with the plat, then they might, well, they have frontage out on the highway.
Yeah, and Dave Steen has his 100-foot of frontage on this side.
Either way. they have
Well, I think we're saying the
236
same thing.
feet.
Yeah, yeah, we are. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just, there's enough property there, you're fine.
Right.
I'm gonna take that as a sign this should go through.
Well,
Like she said, you're talking to the.
I was gonna say, you don't have to sell me. You don't have to sell me.
So Mayor, what do you think?
It's interesting, but every time you come in, it's interesting.
What she's saying is build the damn
Yeah, she's like, well, my wife back there, she's like, stop adding to it. Just stop.
thing. Build.
So
And we'll be doing
at this
lots of
point,
maybe
I'm
projects that are
stopped.
as
I
well.
can't be doing all. You know, I'm done.
All right, does that give you enough?
we've nicknamed it
Tasks?
Disneyland, not crack cocaine, okay?
All right.
Oh, that's
So-
right. I forgot that last time you said that.
Subdivision is 25 days from the meeting date that you want to have approval. So that makes your deadline for planning commission April 14th.
That was just, sounds like today.
That's tomorrow. You got some work to do.
You better start
You're not the only client, I hate to tell you.
Yes, we are.
For a price.
The next deadline is May 19th for the June planning commission meeting.
What day is June 1?
June 14th is planning commission. So you'd have to have an application submitted for review by May 19th.
If you could get it in earlier, then maybe we could go through any reviews we haven't. I don't know if you'd be comfortable with the preliminary and
Just
final
preliminary.
subdivision plat.
On something like this, I think we
That's
could.
what I would think. But get it in early enough so there aren't any.
There can't be any conditions.
Yeah.
So, let me get it
And
straight.
we've kind of already met all the conditions other than
The new piece.
the new piece.
So on the schemes on the north, we'll do a little lot split and make sure that that meets, well, it's agriculture, so we'll make sure it meets the setbacks and everything. And then we'll combine the entire set. We already have it combined right here. I can show you the,
Well, and try to get
And
it in
so-
as quick as you can through the county.
we'll have to,
Oh, that might, yeah,
Yeah,
the county
no.
has to review
So
your
the county,
subdivision.
we require the county surveyor to do a full review on any plats.
okay.
So you want to get that in quick enough because we won't get final approval until we get their buy-off.
Okay, that's fine, we can get it into them. I've worked with them on a couple ones a week. So you also have that new,
He can have it to you by Monday.
zoning stuff that you have to do too, right? There's a whole new little process.
Yeah, but we want to make sure that the subdivision has broken off the parcel that we're gonna ask for a rezone.
Okay.
So we won't.
All right, we'll put it all together.
But yeah, so here's the.
I mean, we could run it in the
I don't know
same
why
meeting.
that's
Is
not-
that what you're asking?
yeah.
Is
What's that?
We could run it in the same meeting.
Okay.
Preliminary final for your subdivision, and then we could have the public hearing for your zoning. The zoning's two-step because it has to go to city council. The subdivision might be small enough lot size that it doesn't have to go to city council. Because small.
And
lot
city council's up there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Planning
we-
commission sits there too.
Yes, they do. We usually have a planning commission representative here today, but we don't, but.
So while we're here, if you don't mind me just changing it a little bit, we'll probably have to loop the water line all the way over to 750.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm not sure what size that is out there.
16 and an 8. 16 on the west, 8 on the east.
So can we connect to the 16, or is that a
We're
different
gonna
zone?
need to figure out how much fire flow you need. I mean,
And that's what I was gonna talk to.
I mean that's a huge building.
So 450 by 450, we can send you the site plan, and
I've talked with
it might be the-
Jason Treasure,
Yep.
and he said as far as the building, he said it's gonna need 5 zones. If that helps, I don't know if that helps at all. So as far as for how much water you're gonna need.
that's probably just his usage per zone, probably. I don't know.
That might get it. Honestly, maybe your bar might need more water than the building for this football
Oh, right on.
because of use.
So also the
So I need to see both. And I can figure it
the
out.
bar may have changed since you've seen it. Well, I'm just, yeah,
Probably.
no, it's changed.
Maybe.
Maybe that was one level.
Have you not
3 levels.
Have you not seen the axe throwing? The
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know how you.
She has to live with me.
Literally taking a bath last night, and he's like, let me show you what I'm changing. Parcel space, get out. Like,
I'm thinking you're gonna have to connect to both.
Yeah, that's how I figured we'd just do a loop system through there. We'll throw an 8-inch all the way across and extend it possibly to the north, just to make sure there's sufficient flow. That was the biggest concern, the sewer's not sewer. And then access for the fire department. I mean, we can come off the east side, but you can only go around the building from the north to the south. You can't make that, can you put that plan back up?
Sure.
There's room there, but I don't believe we're putting a road. We're just putting gravel on the landscape on that side. Is that a concern at all, or you have enough access throughout it everywhere?
I personally would like to put a little road over there to be able to have exit access, just a one-way, to have exit access for this bottom parking lot.
But we have the problem with our loading dock being a little drop off there. We all have a retaining wall, so they couldn't make that turn with their apparatus. So our landscape.
There's not enough room.
Yeah, there's
here.
not enough room, right, to make that turn, I don't believe. And this is the loading dock, unless we change that loading dock, but there's
Yeah.
not really a location. to
Nothing else to put it, so.
Unless you want to put some type of a bridge or something that shuts
Don't
down.
they still have to do a variance to get that access road to 750?
Yes, they will have to apply for a variance, yes.
Could we do that all at the same time too?
You can apply for the variance.
So all.
It's all, so that's our next, just to leave you with the right information. All of our applications are online at our website, so you'll need a number of applications for your project. The first one will be the subdivision application here. You're going to do preliminary and final in the same. Then you're going to be applying for a variance, which is on here. It's
Variance for the height?
application for a variance here. Well,
And the
either
road.
the height, but the road is the main concern, whether you decide to
So
do
we
the
can
height
do
as well.
two applications for that, if you want to do that at the same time?
And then you'll eventually, after the subdivision is approved, you'll be doing a rezone application, which is just to our land use map, so it's a $300 fee for one rezone.
Might as well just do them all.
Well, by the
Just
time
have
you
'em
finish
ready.
your project, I have a good feeling you will have met most of our applications. You've already done the demolition permit.
Which one are we missing?
Here's the cool thing is, don't we get a T-shirt if we get them all? Don't we?
Like eating that whole steak at the restaurant or whatever, you get your name on the wall.
Or they'll invite you to this committee so you can tell people how to get through it.
Well, that's true. Exactly.
Just talk to Mark, he knows how to do it.
We'll be a spokesperson.
So, all right, does that give you enough clear direction?
And you have us to have it done by tomorrow.
Okay.
They award us something.
Yeah. They're just gonna say, just go away. Just do it. Just go away.
Wondering what this would look like had the line not burned down.
It would have been a cluster. Even worse than now.
Would have been worse.
Just curious, you know.
Yeah,
So
total
we do
cluster.
have one more item of discussion on our project management meeting, so
We'll
we
let you go.
appreciate your
What was
time.
It's not all about us? Come on. That's rude.
So the June 14th meeting, stuff by May 19th.
Or sooner. He said,
Or
he said get it
He said
sooner.
sooner.
I am Mark,
So-
better half.
He said
I'll get it to you sooner.
by Monday. By Monday. You can work the weekend. By Monday.
I already did.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
What map do you want me to pull up for?
Let's just pull up
Dugan's from last night. I can find that.
We haven't got back from doing. Have you seen
Thanks.
Yes. I need to, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's what we're. That's all I gotta talk about.
Yeah, that breaks it up, huh?
Entertaining.
I like what that's.
Hey, Tyler.
I can see a huge. That would be. West Haven, they're like busy. They start at 10 o'clock at night.
Tyler, are you in a position you want me to share my screen so you can see what we're talking about on the 750 West?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right.
Not that I don't like looking at Matt's side profile.
All right. So, what page do you want,
This one right
Justin?
here.
This one? You want me to zoom out? Or
There's just some quantities right there.
so this is just a little bit of a peek at what our landscaping plan looks like for our public works building over there.
You want me to send these to you guys?
Yeah.
I need to send, I should have done this by now anyway.
It looks a lot more landscaped than what it really is. It's very drought resistant grasses and.
Are you gonna hook to us? Is that what you're wanting to do?
Well,
Or
yeah,
do
we're
you-
gonna, for
With this-
temporary.
Yes.
So like how much water are you gonna use a month? That's what we need to get is like a landscape
Yeah,
count.
Yeah, so, is it on this plan? They added it to this plan. Let's see.
So.
You guys were at that
Scroll
meeting
back up, Jenny.
last Thursday
Yes.
and heard
Yeah.
Scroll back up.
how much water we can only go to in the future.
My mouse isn't. Good luck. Just do the touch screen because I can't. Oh, it's frozen.
So if you could see, you saw before there was an irrigation pond up here. So once we start this phase, that irrigation pond will go in. We're talking 8 months to a year of hopefully having to just buffer that time.
Yeah.
And again, and that's not, may even change a little because we're still a year out from being built out.
Right. The last thing you can do is landscape. So I mean, you might have.
So
I guess what we're asking right now is can we, and we'll get those calculations over to you for the water, the estimated water use, but can we get a secondary connection until we get our pond, and then we'll swap it over.
This is a really large.
It's a huge file.
It is
Maybe
a huge
is your
file.
file smaller, Matt?
Yeah, it is, but I'm trying to see if it, because we reduced it, but I wonder if.
Let me see if
Yeah, cause like
There's-
the one he posted yesterday, I can't even,
let's try and use.
takes me an hour and a half. to
Yeah,
download
those
the whole
dang
thing.
architects. All the fancy.
Well, and
Right, so you're gonna, this is gonna go clear through from 750 to 89, right? At the
Yeah,
line.
we got $3.3 million of federal funding
To help build that.
to help build that road. So yeah, it's gonna go.
Act impressive, that was really cool.
And well, yeah, and this is also gonna go south, correct? There's gonna be a road that comes off that to go south off your road you're putting in.
Eventually.
Eventually.
HHI property?
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
So we need to look at that.
This doesn't
and,
have the whole concept plan on it.
I wish, like we talked, months ago about this. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would sure like to upsize now to
Well,
provide that going south.
So what we were discussing is that we were gonna put that main in as a 10-inch main,
Yeah. What's is it gonna be like?
tied into the 16 and then tied into the 12.
12, yeah.
We need, I mean.
But we gotta see what's gonna go on the HHI property. Is it gonna be like, I mean, basically,
Commercial or manufacturing?
yeah. So it's gonna be like what he says. That's what we gotta look at.
Right.
It's fire flows. We gotta
Yeah.
just maintain, like,
Right.
trying to see that. In the
So,
future.
Because
I
if we
mean,
need to go, I mean,
if
the
we need to
cost
go
difference to go from a 10 to 12
is nothing.
huge. So if we need to do
I would, that's what. That's what I would.
And if you want 12, you guys tell us.
Because it's gonna
like-
be dead ended. That's where we're gonna lose it going south. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So that'll.
Unless we could loop it and connect to the highway.
That's what help you. Yes.
That would help.
Because it doesn't matter if you got a 20-inch pipe in this road here.
Yeah.
It's only gonna flow with an 8 or whatever goes
Well,
south. So
right.
that's what's
Pull
gonna
up.
hold us back.
Okay.
The whole
Geogizmo?
area, Geogizmo, oh yeah, sure, whatever. They're,
I lose track of where I am with my tabs here. So,
because their plan is, I mean, their conceptual
And even if
plan-
we,
hang on, I gotta jump Tyler back on here. I'm just gonna my screen. Okay. So, if we,
Their eventual plan, like, so this road, right, line up with what they're doing over here, come in.
and there's gonna be a
And
frontage
there's gonna be
right
an
there.
intersection right there, that may loop down.
And connect.
Line up with their other.
That'd be
Ben
good.
Loman's
That'd be
connection
good.
So
here.
if they could.
If we
move
can
water
loop that
line
in,
on top,
Yeah.
do you have a line that runs on the west side
Oh,
now?
you only have east.
No, further south, there's a line that does come across. That was put in when they redid 89 years ago.
That's further south,
Yeah.
across from here, somewhere in here?
Yeah, I think it's just south of the first house that's on that side.
Yeah.
Over here.
So
Right.
south of here?
Yeah, clear down there. So,
Mm.
but I mean, if it went to that intersection, that'd be fine. That'd-
That's the idea, is that HHI wants to expand their manufacturing
Mhm.
up here, and then this is already commercial.
I think I seen something that that was gonna be a street that basically followed that property
Yeah.
line or something. And come in.
Well, and that was initially when there were two different property owners. Now
No, it's-
HHI owns all of it, and they want to line up the road more
Straight.
further away from the intersection at the highway,
Mhm.
and kind of give them some frontage on that road. This property owner wants access onto the road, and so we've kind of, and I've requested a meeting now that we've got the funding. We know that road's going to go all the way through, so we'll get a better idea of what that looks like, what they want planned there, what
Sure.
they anticipate. I can get you better answers after
Yeah, I
that.
think, we'll work with you and get whatever done we need to do here. Just the landscape calc, so we have some.
idea of
something.
how much water.
Right.
And it is temporary.
Right.
Until we can
And
get
I
our
think we
own
gotta
system
note
built.
that, so, you know what I mean?
Okay.
On those plans. Yeah.
Anything else? You guys?
So with our, if we pull our site plan back up, I'll just send this to you guys, but right now, let's see, go
What
to
page?
the next page.
Up.
What do you,
So-
like, what's your highest GPM that you would require for anything?
That depends.
Like 3,000 gallons a minute?
Yeah, probably.
So,
But I don't see anything down here that would meet 3,000.
3,000. So if we,
Probably around 2,000, 2,500.
if we plan for 2,500, so I don't want to overspend either, you know, I mean,
Right.
just blow it out of the park for you, but
right.
the difficulty we have like here is Harrisville's kind of a low pressure zone, so that's what I'm trying to bring all that into.
So we'll send you these plans, and then do we just, what do you want to do to, I guess, this, because with this first phase of the public works site, we want to build this road and get the line stubbed here until we can keep going. And we may be able to build the whole, depending on when the funding's available.
Yeah.
We may be able to just go and do this whole thing right now, all the way to the highway, or we may need to just stop
That's
right
fine.
there. So we need.
I'll
to
just
know
review it and then I'll
just the
make
size.
my notes and send it back to you, Matt.
that works.
I think we need to set ourselves up though for if it doesn't go across the highway, like come back to 60 feet, make sure we have a valve so it doesn't impact you guys. And then so when you go, we can just take off. You know what I mean? Instead of like having to kill that for however long to get that across the highway.
Right.
And I don't know, yeah, I'll just look at it and then,
Because right now, if we don't get that all in, we're just proposing connecting on 750, round up, stubbing it, and then we've got a line going into our site for fire hydrants.
Probably,
And our service.
for you guys, that would probably be privatized from
The valve
the valve right there.
out there.
yeah, do you want
We
to
didn't
run
show
it that
that.
way or just put them off 750?
Well,
One there on the corner and then one off 750. I mean,
the reason we thought there was one, because then we could get into it from our site and we wouldn't stop in traffic on 750 or anything.
oh, for your cleaning?
But yeah, but then also for our future growth, if we do that road, we can then have future growth.
Yeah.
So I'm okay.
Are we
with
gonna
that.
have any sewer conflicts with crossing that with it? The sewer's on the west side of 750?
No,
Or is
it's
it on
the east side? It's right here.
Yeah, the sewer's
So
east
it's
of us.
deep. It's
Is
really
it?
deep.
So
right?
we won't have any
I
conflicts
don't
there.
think So I'll double check that, but we're pretty.
It's deep and it's huge.
Is it?
It's 15 inch.
It's a 15 right there. Yeah, 15 on 750.
Yeah, Brady about fell in a couple
You
months
bounce
ago.
And then this storm drain crossing got a minimum height, so we'll go underneath this storm drain and should have plenty of clearance over that sewer.
Yeah.
I'll double check it. And then,
I'll just get you availability letter and all that processing going and then go from just like, we'll just do the same thing.
right, okay. Yeah, sorry, I should have sent it to you a couple weeks ago when we had this done.
But yeah, Matt decided cruise is more important than work.
Yeah, that wasn't my decision, that was my wife's decision.
It's probably when it was still snowing, so it was more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than he got what he got.
I show up to our,
We're on the record.
board.
Just a reminder.
Well, I'll wait till that.
Tyler, do you have any comments?
Guess not.
So I thought.
You might be otherwise occupied.
I thought the
Okay.
landscape plan, they added the calculations, but then when I say yeah, I'll double check. I just forwarded this to you too.
And Dugan knows that because he said that last night.
I know, I've been able to hear us. All right. Anything else for the record?
Adjourned.
Maybe he had an issue. just double check with him, make sure he doesn't have a comment. The team here, and then we'll let you go.
Recording progress.
Hey Tyler, do you have any questions or comments about the public works for fire or Bonavista water for the building?
When I met with the architect last, what was that, like last month? I don't think we had any concerns at that point with fire. Looked like there was plenty of turnaround there. We had some questions with the gate, and they were going to provide a unlock ability for the fire marshal. I don't think I had anything for fire.
Okay. Well, we're just wrapping up here unless you have any comments for us.
No, sorry, I keep losing.
No, you're good. Appreciate you joining. Okay, well, we will wrap it up.